Hi, my name is Jad. I'm the CEO and founder of Grepr. I'm excited to show you a quick demo of Grepr in action. The first thing that we'll want to do is to generate some log data and send it to Datadog. I wrote a little script that starts up 5 Datadog agents. All this is the standard stuff that's needed to start an agent. Two things to notice. One, I've set the agent's hostname to a unique hostname for each instance, so it looks like I have 5 hosts. And two, I increased the granularity of the logs to debug so that we can get a lot more log data for reduction. Now let's start the agents. Great, so now switching over to Datadog, we're searching by the host names of those agents. And we already see 33,000 logs. Wow, that's quite a bit. Let's see how Grepr helps. I'm going to sign up for a new Grepr account. All right, now we should be receiving an email shortly. Let's check. Here's the email, let's accept it, and then let's sign in. Make sure you read the evaluation agreement. And we're in. This is the homepage for the app. We don't need this tour guide for the demo. All right, if you wanted to do this yourself, you can go to our quick start guide, which has a lot of the same things that I'm actually going through in this demo. This is going to be part of our docs. All right, going back to the app, the first thing that we're going to want to do is to create a pipeline to start sending data into our application. You can give it any name, maybe demo, staging, prod, depending on the environment. This is where we create our pipeline. So first thing that we're going to want to do is to give it a source. Where's the data going to come from? We're going to connect our pipeline to Datadog, so we're going to create a Datadog integration. We'll also need an API key. This is the same API key that we installed in our agents. You don't need an application key, but adding it will enable more features. Now let's add the integration as a source. The next thing we'll need is a connection to a raw data store. This is where Grepr adds all the raw data that we're collecting from your agents. You could either use your own S3 bucket or you could use Grepr's. For this tour, we're going to use Grepr's because that's the easiest way to get started. Finally, we'll need a sink to tell Grepr to send the data to Datadog. Here we'll add the Datadog integration we created earlier, and you'll notice that Grepr by default adds a few tags to the data that it sends to Datadog. This makes it easy for you to find the data that you might be looking for that was processed by Grepr or by this specific pipeline. All right, we are ready to create the pipeline. Let's go. The pipeline is going to take a minute to start. So in the meantime, let's go configure the agent. We're going to get this ingest URL over here. This is an endpoint that is unique for each integration that we create within Grepr. This endpoint is going to be configured into the agent so that the agent sends the logs to Grepr. We'll just copy it right now and put it into the agent. Now, two things are different than what was there before. First, it's this URL over here that we've just added that tells the agent to send logs to the Grepr endpoint. And second, it's this other parameter that we've added here to use HTTP as a protocol for sending messages to Grepr. Now we're ready to start sending the data. So let's get the agents going with the new setting. Back in our UI, we'll start seeing messages pass through and get reduced. We're going from about 60, 70 messages per second to about 96% reduction, which is great. And then switching back to Datadog, we are going to take a look at what messages look like. Here's how Grepr's log reduction works. As logs are passing through, it will recognize the message patterns and keep count of how many messages it sees for each pattern. Once a pattern's count crosses a configurable threshold, which is 4 by default for this tour, we start aggregating the messages for that pattern. Every 2 minutes, then Grepr will emit a summary message. Let's look for one of these summary messages. These messages begin with the word repeats, followed by the count of messages that were aggregated. There's lots of summaries. Some of these messages are aggregating almost 10,000 messages. Let's open one of them and take a look. Inside the summary message, we find the repeat count, which contains the number of repeated messages, separated out to a different field so you can easily use it when creating a metric. There's also a pattern ID that can be used to find the other messages that belong to this pattern. Let's find those messages now. Now we see there's a mix of sample messages and a summary message. Grepr emits 4 sample messages and a summary message because that's the configuration that we have by default. Looking at the summary, Grepr emits the pattern it identified as the message. Grepr has also identified that this pattern has 3 parameters that change between messages. There's the timestamp here, there's an arbitrary number, and there's an arbitrary string. Now, to make it easier for developers to find the raw messages that belong to a summary message, Grepr embeds a URL. Clicking on that URL takes you to the Grepr UI. This is the Grepr Log Explorer that enables users to search for log messages in the Grepr data lake. The search is already configured to find the raw messages corresponding to the source summary. When you click on one of these raw messages, first we'll highlight other messages that belong to the same pattern, and we'll show additional details. If you decide you prefer to work on a bunch of the logs within your observability tool, you can backfill all the raw data back into Datadog with 2 clicks. The data that gets loaded is the data that's corresponding to the search that you've configured here. All right, let's load this data back. Within a few seconds, the job starts and completes. Clicking on the job link takes us to Datadog, where we'll see the logs that we just backfilled. The special thing about Grepr is that this backfill can be automated, along with rules to stop aggregating the data when there are incidents. Grepr has a ton of configuration options designed to help you manage your observability data effectively, reduce noise, and cut down on your costs with minimal effort. To learn more, visit us at grepr.ai or try Grepr yourself.